Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are back in Jurassic World Evolution 3, building out the Cretaceous Cruise in our park here in the Northwest United States. To this point, I've done really little with this attraction specifically, and it's something that we need to change. We need to get more comfortable using some of these other attractions, and so we're going to have this river cruise in the back of our park here in the Northwest, and try to add a few other dinosaurs around it to keep it a little bit more interesting here. So let's get started. I want to split this enclosure into 3 different spaces here. So we'll have some space at the top here for some dinosaurs. We'll have 2 different sides on the right here where different dinosaurs will be mingling or walking around, where we can see those in different parts of this river cruise here, or maybe even looking from the side of it. But regardless, the top of it will have a waterfall that will start to come down. We can't have the river cruise actually go up and down levels here, unfortunately. So we're going to have to keep that level flat in the middle for the actual river cruise to go. And then we'll have some spaces here for some smaller waterfalls as well. The top of it, I want to put some flying reptiles in here. So we're going to use this trick here just to put in the top of that aviary, put the nest in, remove that. And then we can just build out the rest of this again with more of that rock, some water to make that waterfall. And then up here is where we'll have just some flying dinosaurs, maybe some smaller ones that we'll have over here that can be close to the river cruise, but they're not going to spend too much time getting far too close. You might get 1 or 2 that are near the boats, but you're not going to have a flock or a large group of these dinosaurs over here. I'm thinking over here we're going to have Caiuajara in this space. It feels like a smaller flying reptile for us in the park where we can still look out. You can see them out there, but it's not something that I think you're going to be terribly concerned that the Caiuajara is getting closer to you over here. We're going to use a lot of rocks in this enclosure, specifically on this side over here with the water coming down here. I just want to make sure that a lot of these spaces here where the water goes down levels, it doesn't feel like it just rushes over the side of it, and having these extra rocks here I feel like adds a lot of necessary texture in spaces like this, where I feel like just the way that it currently is feels a little bit too bland and boring for something like this. So we'll be doing a lot of work with the rocks on the sides of the water over here. For the actual river cruise, we're going to go in all over this one level of the river cruise. You can't go up and down on the river cruise, which is unfortunate. So we'll do a little bit of playing around, as you'll see, just to make sure we can get this fully around the space. I didn't fully plan this part out and how this was going to look, so could have been a little bit cleaner to get it around the first time, but just with a couple of moving the water around and expanding things, we could make that actually work. I want to do something a little bit different, or something that at least I haven't done a lot of, and that's going to be using the logs here to create some dams around the side of this here as well. I do a lot of work with the rocks on the sides of the water as it comes down, but for this space here where I want to create it, where it maybe feels a little more man-made, or like we're forcing this barrier, but from one side where the river cruise is going down to this second level, I wanted to just use a bunch of these logs and see what that looked like. And I actually kind of liked it. So I'm using a ton of these logs and putting them together, creating smaller blueprints on top of blueprints, and running that around the sides of this where I'm not using all that rock. I really like this. I thought this was a really fun way to just make things different and not just have rock around all the sides of it. So even if I didn't love everything else that in this, which I like a lot of what we did here in the river cruise, that was one thing that I took away from the set. I really enjoyed, and I'm probably going to use a couple more times in different enclosures and spaces that I build. So on the south side here of this water, I'm just going to create a smaller shelter building of sorts here that some dinosaurs could go into. They don't go into it very often, and now that it's fully built out, but I do have some of our nests that we'll include inside of this here. I didn't want this as like a functioning building. I just wanted something that was a little bit more like a shelter, but also dinosaurs could lay their eggs in here. For a lot of the enclosures that I like to build, I like to have some kind of a shelter of sorts where people, or dinosaurs, not people, dinosaurs can go in and maybe escape the environment. A lot of times getting out of the sun if they need to get some of that shade here, since we don't have a lot of caves, and we're not going to build any kind of caves in this enclosure here for the herbivores that we have. The enclosure is going to end up having 5 or 6 different dinosaurs or animals in here. It's going to have the flying reptile, the Caiuajara. We're going to have Apatosaurus, Digimoloch, Dryosaurus, Chasmosaurus, and Apatosaurus. And as I'm doing that, I did not count how many that is. So there's going to be quite a few different dinosaurs in here. Down below over here, we're going to have a couple more of those Chasmosaurus. And then up above, you'll have a bunch of those other dinosaurs there. Down here, I want to have it a little bit more of this open plain. And then up top, there will be a lot more trees and brush and some other things over there. And then the Caiuajara will take over that space in the corner by that waterfall area that we've got. But ideally, the dinosaurs will stay in those different spaces here. They've tended to do that as I've let it just kind of play out for a little bit and see where the dinosaurs tend to go and migrate to. So it's been pretty consistent overall. We've got 1 or 2 more enclosures that we'll put in this entire park here. We'll do something next with the aviaries and trying to see what we can do there to make things different. Might do something else with the lagoon to play with that. Again, originally this was not a park that I planned on actually building out entirely, but at this point we're just going to finish it up, and then we'll get to some other fun things that I've got that I would want to start playing with, specifically looking at building more of a snow Arctic style park on a snow ice covered island. So that'll be something we'll do in the future. If stuff like that is of interest, it's something you want to follow along with, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. If you've got ideas or feedback on this enclosure or things that I'll be working on in the future doing for fun, feel free to put those in the comments as well. Always love to hear that feedback and see what people like and what they don't like. We're trying to get a little bit better at all this stuff every day. All right, now let's get to the actual building here for the river cruise here. I want to build this out a little bit more. So we'll have this building here. It's kind of boring. It is what it is. You can't go in and out of it. So I want to have a space outside of it that guests can walk through a little bit, and I can see that. To give more, it's just I want to see those kind of things. I don't just want to have a building that people can go towards. So we'll do a couple small things with like the entrance to the boathouse part of the river cruise. But a lot of the work here is going to be in actually working on the entrance way to this river cruise here. So I want to have this where it's just a little bit of a larger building entrance area over here. My idea is I want to have this a little more open. I'm going to have a glass roof over the top of it that we can see into. And then I think I'll do things like this more often with some of these buildings, thinking something bigger for an aviary that we'll be working on, but using things like these little trim here and then some windows to create these smaller like waiting room areas in these entrances. This was a lot of fun for me to just experiment with and play with different kinds of things in these kind of parks. Even going through this now, I wish I could go back to the campaign and just start it from scratch and build everything like this. A lot of fun. I'm not going to go do that because I've already gone through the entire campaign. We'll keep adding to it every month as we get new dinosaurs. But that's not what this is for. This right now is for the Cretaceous Cruise. Put some shade and some building like on the side here. And then again, I want to have some kind of a glass roof over the top of this here. And I want to just make it a lot... I want the slope to be very, very slight here. When you go across the entire length of this, obviously it's going to look a little bit more obvious that it's slanted up. You're going to have that open side on the back here. But I did want to make it feel like the building is going to breathe a little bit. So we're going to have this open space over here and then having some of those wood poles on the sides to give that a little bit more dimension here. The side of this actually worked pretty great for the size I needed for the gated fences on the side here. So we're going to play with that a little bit on the edge there. And then wanted to have like a smaller display case for the Cretaceous Cruise on the side as people are coming in. It looks like we got a lot of things in here, but really when people walk through it, I feel like it's just, from my opinion, the right amount of stuff in here. Make it still feel full, but not overwhelmed with just a ton of just things in here to fill it. All right, the last thing we got to do is this boathouse over here. And we're going to have a little bit of fun with the side of this here and do something extra, and found a new fun thing that I'm going to be doing in a lot of these different parks here. We're going to build a little shed here that's going to be for storing all the rest of the things that we need for these boats, slash finding a place to put a bunch of other these extra little maintenance props over here. So we're just going to create a smaller, again, just like storage shed unit area here connected to our boathouse. Biggest thing that I found out here was really fun is creating shelves. Don't know why that was something that was so groundbreaking to me here, but new fun thing for me to do here is just taking this siding right here and then expanding it multiple times and creating these little shelves. Again, I don't know why I didn't see this before, but I'm going to be doing this a ton more in different parks, because I feel like that just makes these little buildings way better. And then I can take some of these other props here, like gas cans or the fish bait like building or pieces, and putting those in here to make this look way better, more full. I feel like we don't have a lot of these kind of shelf type things in Jurassic World Evolution 3. So new hack for me every single building that I'm building. I don't know why part of this didn't record, but I did add some boats and some other boxes and storage pieces to the side of this dock that I have coming on the other side of this boathouse here. But those are there. You can see those a little bit, and then we'll just play with the roof here a little bit, give it a little bit more dimension on this side here, and then just playing with some of the back over here. We're gonna have some kind of a gate fence chain overhang on the side of this here, and take that over the top of this as well as kind of like a roof on the side. Need to add a few windows in here. We'll put those into both of these buildings, and then while we're here, might as well put an air conditioning unit in here as well. Play with some fans and some other things on the side here as well. Just a couple finishing touches until I feel completely satisfied with how this looks. So we'll add a couple of these, looking more like that Cretaceous Cruise, and we've gone with more of a green kind of vibe on the sides of this here. But overall, happy with how this turned out. This was my first time really using the Cretaceous Cruise and playing with it here. You can see we've got a couple things here in the entrance as we're going into that Cretaceous Cruise, and then getting out there. Obviously, our guests will enjoy going around on those boats and seeing a ton of different dinosaurs and flying reptiles as they go through this part of the park. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. If you have feedback on how to make this even better, put those in the comments. If you have other dinosaurs you think would be fun to try to build enclosures for or do things with, feel free to put those in the comments as well. I've got to do some work on that aviary that I'm excited to try to put together. But in the meantime, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next build.を塞がれた場合には、動物が毒までお待ちください。皆様の忍耐に感謝